it and
check it as
to make sure that you do get a positive return on your time, effort, and ultimately money investment in LinkedIn. As I explained last week, in the absence of Tracy, for the new guys that's here today, just a little bit of a background introduction to myself. I come from an IT background. Been in IT for the first 15 years of my career. I was the IT manager for the Davies Industrial Diamonds. And from there, I moved into the call center industry. I never worked in a call center, but I've set up some of the larger call centers in South Africa. And it was through the call center industry, looking at generating leads, that we started looking at social media as a possible solution. Now, this was way back in 2004 when Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn started to come to the fore. But at that stage, LinkedIn was full of technical errors and really viewed as a recruitment platform. But LinkedIn has grown very fast. And by 2012, when I was the CEO for Call Center Hub, we decided to use LinkedIn to grow Call Center Hub. And I had a look at LinkedIn, and I really decided I want to understand how LinkedIn works, because if you understand how something works, it becomes a lot easier. So I dissected from a technical point of view and started discovering the layouts and the setups of LinkedIn. And I had huge fun at the time. So when we sold Call Center Hub to an Australian concern in 2015, I decided to go into the marketing space and assist other companies to be successful in LinkedIn, teaching them the values and the gems that we picked up in Call Center Hub. And since then, we've been running Marketing CX. Our main and core focus is a LinkedIn Done For You service, where we focus on assisting our clients to generate leads, either by doing it for them or either by coaching them on how to do it. We also focus on LinkedIn makeovers, and I spoke about it last week. Now, last week I covered basically the structure and the settings of LinkedIn and what you need to focus on. What is important in LinkedIn is that you get your foundation elements in. A lot of times people jump into LinkedIn and they just want to get started. They want to set up their profile. They want to send out invitations and get new connections and do content. But unless you understand all of the features of LinkedIn, you're going to lose out on some marketing initiatives and tools that LinkedIn does offer. Also, LinkedIn setups is set up in such a way, LinkedIn is providing a service to their user base. So some of the LinkedIn settings, the default settings, is set up for their users and their ideal clients, not yours. So I highlighted some settings last week and what you should focus on. What is important is LinkedIn is a social media platform, but it is a very, very strong marketing tool. It's a strong marketing tool in the sense that in LinkedIn, you have access to your ideal clients. If you phone a company today and you want to speak to the CEO, you're going to get to the gatekeeper. And they're going to block you, and you're not going to be able to speak to that CEO telephonically. But this is where the beauty of LinkedIn comes in. Suddenly you've got access to that CEO. Suddenly you can start building a relationship with that CEO. And this is why it becomes such a strong marketing tool. Now, in saying that it's a marketing tool, if it is a marketing tool, it means that you need to plan. You need to know what it is that you're trying to achieve. Unlike other social media platforms like Facebook, for instance, you can't just jump in every day and say something and hope you're going to get results. You need to make sure that you plan and you know what it is that you want to achieve, and you need to work out the journey of how you are going to get there. And not only do you have to work out your own marketing journey, you need to map out your lead journey. In other words, where you find your ideal client on LinkedIn to the point that they agree to the sales call, you need to plan up front. How are you going to move him? What is the steps that you're going to follow? Now, this is where messaging comes in LinkedIn. There are two ways to market in LinkedIn. I'm going to cover messaging today, but the two main aspects in LinkedIn is inbound and outbound marketing. Inbound marketing meaning that you attract people to you. And this is where we spoke last week of how important it is that your profile page and group in LinkedIn is fully optimized so that when you do inbound marketing, that you send them to what you can call a landing page, being your profile, that's going to sell for you. If you do not optimize your profile and ensure that it is set up in the correct way with the correct keywords, the correct hashtags, you are going to lose out on opportunities and you're going to leave money on the table. It is extremely important that you set up your structures in LinkedIn and prepare it for inbound marketing for those cases where people come and view your profile, see you active, go and have a look at who you are, that you present you and your brand professionally. First impressions last. And this is what last week was all about. Now, outbound marketing is when you go out and reach out to people on LinkedIn. And this is where the important messaging comes in. And a lot of people fail in that because they approach messaging in completely the wrong manner. One of the most important things, and if this is the only thing you remember from this session today, it is going to serve you well. You do not sell on LinkedIn. It is a marketing tool. What is the difference between sales and marketing? A very simplistic explanation is marketing is a daily activity whereby you go out and tell people that you exist. It's that simple. You just want to make them aware that you exist. Sales is when the person in front of you is ready to listen to your sales presentation, where you are going to offer him a product or a service with the sole objective of changing money. Whereby marketing, the focus on marketing is to create enough interest that the person agrees to this sales process. Now, that is important when it comes to messaging on LinkedIn, to clearly understand what is outbound marketing and what is messaging and what should your goal be. Your goal on LinkedIn should not be to create clients. Your goal on LinkedIn should be to create enough interest for a person to agree to a sales process where you are going to embark on the sales. If you do not do this, you're going to get ostracized eventually on LinkedIn, because what is going to happen is people go in, and the minute that you sound like a person that screams, buy my stuff, they run a mile. They don't want to read your content. They don't want to engage with you. They see you as a spammer and somebody that's just salesy. And apart from losing out on opportunities, you are damaging your brand, because people are going to associate you and your business as spammers, as people that's desperate. So be very careful when you embark on messaging. Now, I'm going to take you through some strategies around messaging on LinkedIn that we've tried and tested over the last 6 years that works best. And in order to do that, I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can see what I mean when I start talking about messaging. There's a couple of fundamentals that you need to be aware of, and that you need to include even before you start messaging. Do not jump out and just go out there and tell someone that you are this super duper coach and they must jump on a Zoom call so that you can explain to them, or don't jump on there and tell people that your coaching is going for a discount this month because it is love month, it is Valentine's month, and you want to share the love. They're going to run a mile. People do not want to be sold to anymore. People want to have the choice to decide if they want to buy or not. What you need to do on LinkedIn is move them towards that choice. Now, first thing that you need to understand in LinkedIn is you have got 2 inboxes. The first one is you have got the inbox in LinkedIn itself, and then you've got an inbox in Sales Navigator. So you have got 2 inboxes. If you subscribe to Sales Navigator, you need to understand that there is 2 inboxes. And the problem that you have is they are not linked. In other words, if you send a message on the Sales Navigator inbox, it is not going to show on your LinkedIn inbox. If you send a message on your LinkedIn profiles and not within Sales Navigator, you're not going to see it in Sales Navigator. So what you find a lot of times where people start getting frustrated is they miss out on messages because they monitor maybe their Sales Navigator inbox and never see the message coming in, or they monitor their LinkedIn inbox and don't see the Sales Navigator, and then they lose out on the opportunity. A strategy that we follow is we always only send out on the LinkedIn mailbox for the very simple reason. For those people that don't have Sales Navigator and can only send messages within LinkedIn, we target everybody. So we make sure that we just work in one inbox and we don't use the facility in Sales Navigator to start sending out messages there. The other aspect of messaging in LinkedIn that you need to understand is that in your message inbox in LinkedIn, even though Microsoft is bought in and with LinkedIn, it is not an Outlook. Your functionalities in the inboxes are still very primitive. There's not much that you can do in your inbox. In other words, all you can do is you can send emails, you can highlight mails as spam, and I always caution people about spam, because if you are going to start highlighting all of the spam messages you get, the person that you are going to report as sending spam messages, if LinkedIn get 5 to 10 of these, they will close that person's account. So if that is not something that you would like done to you, then just be careful to mock other people, because they can really lose all of the intel that they've built into it. A better bet to do is, and this is the practice that we do, is we will highlight to the person that they are sending us unwanted messages. And if we receive another one, we're going to remove them as a connection. And we rather do that. And if we find that someone is starting to spam us, we'll make the call whether we want to continue the relationship or not, and rather just remove it. You can get messages from your own connections, and then the unreads. What we normally do, and this is a practice that works very well, is we just go in every morning, look at all of the unreads that we received, and action those first. And then we go and archive the rest. If a message has been archived and somebody responds to it, it will come back into the inbox automatically. The reason why we archive the messages is to keep the inboxes as clean as possible, so that you don't sit with messages way back to 2012, 2010, and you don't know whether you're Arthur or Martha. In other words, in managing your messaging on LinkedIn, it is extremely important that you understand that the functionality is limited. And you can't go and save this as your second connections and these as prospects and so on. You can't do that. So just be aware of your limitations and find a very simple strategy to manage your inbox. Our strategy is we look at the unreads, respond to them, and then archive all of the messages of today, so that we can start on a clean slate. You can see these are the messages I received so far, because we go in every morning and we clean out my account every afternoon. We clean out my inbox and make sure that everything is nice and clean. The third area that you need to focus on is do not send a message to somebody that's not your ideal client. You're just wasting time. In other words, what I've seen a lot of people do is they just go and connect and connect and connect, and it's a spray and pray approach. And they hope that this person something will happen, or something's not going to happen if the person has no interest in what you have to offer. So use your messaging sparingly. If you message and have too many activities on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is going to frown on you and restrict your account. So in total, we try to limit all of the activities, including commenting, liking, and so on, to 250 a day, no more than that. So we do have the limitation of the 100 connections a week, but you can very quickly start sending messages to your first connections, and before you know it, you've done so much activity on a daily basis that LinkedIn now asks themselves, is this a human or is this a bot? Is somebody using automation tools here, which is against the user policies? So be very laser targeted when you go in with your messaging, and make sure that when you do send out a message, that you go in and focus only on the people that would ultimately be a very good fit for you as a client. They might not become clients, but if they are a very good fit, like-minded people tend to flock together. So if they are a good fit, the likelihood that they have got somebody similar in their network is great. And if they are a very good fit and they come back like this guy and says, no, thanks, I can always go back to him because I've built a relationship with him and say, fully understood, is there anybody in your network that might be interested? Or if I don't want to continue, I can always go back and say, no problem, shall we continue to network? Because if he's an ideal client, he is going to post relevant content. I can keep on engaging, continue building the relationship, and so on. So this is how we do messaging from a feature-rich perspective on LinkedIn. And these are the pitfalls that you need to look out for when you start sending messages and focusing on outbound campaigns. However, what is critical to your success in messaging is planning. You need to know what it is that you're trying to achieve. Now, before I take you through the various type of messages and the pitfalls in the messages, I just want to introduce you to a term that we use in marketing a lot, and that is called the AIDA marketing model. So I just wanted to explain to you the strategy that you need to follow when you start preparing for sending out messages. So if we look at the AIDA marketing model, AIDA stands for awareness, interest, desire, and action. And that is exactly the steps that you need to take with your messaging. You can't go out, send out a connection request, and immediately as the person responds, go and say, buy my stuff. It doesn't work. It's a wasted effort. The steps you need to follow is AIDA. First, you need to create awareness. Remember, I said marketing is telling other people that you exist, making them aware that you are there. And if you optimized your LinkedIn account, like I've advised before, this awareness becomes easy because all you need to do is in the awareness phase, make them understand that you understand their challenge, their problem. People buy from people that understand their problem better than what they do. So in the awareness stage of your messaging, what you want to do is focus on them, focus on their challenges, their problems, because once you've created that awareness, guess what is the first step they're going to do? They're going to click on your picture, on your name, and go and see your profile to see who you are. So in the awareness phase, all you want to do is what I call drive traffic to your profile. You've optimized your profile. You've got the right keywords, the right hashtags, the right layouts. You've completed every section in your profile beautifully. Everything just tells your story. So all the awareness needs to do in your messaging is make them aware that you exist so that you can get traffic to your profile. Once you've created that traffic, you need to determine their interest. Now, this is one of the problems that you have in LinkedIn, because it's a little bit of a double-edged sword here, because on the one hand, you cannot go out and say, buy my stuff. But on the other hand, we are not there on LinkedIn to play popularity contests. So you don't want to be Mr. and Mrs. Nice Guy all the time and just, how are you? What are you doing? How do you find business? How's 2022 treating you? And after 10 to and fro messages like this, you realize, I am not selling a thing. I'm not getting business from LinkedIn. Remember, our objective ultimately is to gain business, is to grow our businesses. So the interest is to start qualifying this person. Are they, in fact, your ideal client? You know, I can go do a search on the title, on the location, on the size of the company, and whatever the criteria is that I've set to highlight who my ideal client is. And this person is a perfect match. But when I connect with him and we start with an awareness phase, I realize this is not my ideal client. This is exactly the type of client I never want. So you need to start qualifying so that you don't waste time in building relationships here with someone that's going to serve absolutely no purpose in your effort. Now, not every single person, as I said, is going to become your lead, is going to become your next client. But they could be very good connections to have for referrals, for introductions. So you need to determine their level of interest and follow the strategy that you're going to set out in your messaging campaigns so that you understand what they do. Once you've created the awareness and you did the first level of qualifying to determine their interest, you now need to determine desire. Now, desire to me is really timeframes. Are they ready to buy now? They've qualified. They're the perfect client. I can see them being in my CRM saying client. They are a perfect match. Are they going to do it now? Or are they not in the market at the moment? And is this going to be something that I'm going to have to work towards to a later stage? So desire is really, what is their urgency? What is their time frames? Where are they? And this is something you can ask upfront, or it is something that you can determine through looking at their content, their engagement, what they like, what they follow, and so on. So just by observing their behavior patterns on LinkedIn, you can also determine the desire, or else you can determine whether they're ready now or not. And then ultimately, you need to upfront decide what is your call to action. In other words, what are you going to ask them to do? Because if you don't ask, you don't get. It's that simple. And you don't want to frustrate yourself with a messaging system where it is just chit-chat, as if you are on Facebook and you're not getting anywhere because you don't know what to ask them. So you need to be very clear in your mind. I'm going to send them to my LinkedIn online makeover workshop landing page. So I'm going to ask them if this is of interest and if they would like to have the link and see it. So that could be my action, my call to action that I want to do. Now, you don't have to have just one. You don't have to have a web page or a landing page outside of LinkedIn. Your action could be that you wrote an article that is getting a lot of engagement and that you have started to generate a lot of new connections from. So you could say, I wrote this article. It could be that your whole messaging campaign is working towards that. And this is how you implement into LinkedIn the ADA marketing model for your outreach campaigns. And it also then substantiates my claim that LinkedIn is not just a social media platform. It's one of the most powerful marketing platforms out there. When you are going to do your messaging, there are 4 criteria that you have to adhere to. The first thing is be professional. Now, I have got a saying that I say you need to be personal yet professional. In other words, you don't have to sound as if you swallowed the Oxford Business Directory and that you are using jargon that nobody understands. You can, in normal English, approach a person, but going on out on LinkedIn and say, hey, dude, how are you doing? What are you up to? Is not professional language. You still need to protect your brand. You still need to position your brand, and you still need to care about the impression that you are leaving at the end of the day. In a very relaxed, informal way, you can speak to a person via messaging, being professional. The other thing is, don't be desperate. It shows. You know, I see people that they ask me for a connection, I accept, and then I get like an A4 page of everything they do. They sell this and they sell that and they sell this, and here's this link and there's that link. It's going to take me half a day just to read that message. It looks desperate. In other words, be careful when you go out that you don't sound like, I want to say buy my stuff, but I'm not saying it. But please, just respond to me. I need a sale. I need to grow my business. Get that out of it. The other thing is in LinkedIn, it's always about them and never about you. So don't be self-serving. Don't ask them to go out and visit your landing page and send you a mail and go to a Zoom meeting because you can do all of this. Always consider them first. Now, if you understand your ideal client fully, it is going to be very easy to go in and highlight the problem that they have. Add a value statement for them. Did you know that you can increase your sales opportunities on LinkedIn by 45% just by optimizing your LinkedIn? Now, this is something we have tested over 6 years, and the gurus out there agrees with us. Is this a problem that you have? I just did a message for you. In other words, always look at the value statement that is going to make them think. A value statement where you say, I know that you're trying to increase your sales from your LinkedIn activities, and you can achieve it. And there's measurements out there, facts coming from LinkedIn. that says it can increase by 45% if you just optimize your LinkedIn profile. And then the other thing is you get these automation tools out there that one that comes to mind is Duck Soup, where you write one message, you put 20 connections in, you press a button and it automatically sends it out for you. Well, first of all, it is against the user policies in LinkedIn. Secondly, how do you build a relationship with a bot? You can't. The other aspect of it is copy and paste. So I've drafted the message, I go and find a name, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V, and I do that 20 times a day. Don't do that. You are dealing with people. Build a relationship. Now, in every messaging system, when you start with your outbound campaigns and you start with your messaging, always starts with the connection request, the second connection. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time on that before I take you through message sequences and how you work out your strategy on LinkedIn. So going back to my profile, I just want to highlight some areas on the second connection. The elements in your second connection request is very simple. You need to do a couple of things when you ask someone to connect. In other words, if I go into my network and LinkedIn says some of these people might be a good fit for me, or people that I may know in the area, what most people try to do is just connect. You always need, if I do that, it just connects. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to just go out and just connect with someone. I want to go into Bongani. I want to go and do some research on Bongani before I'm going to connect with him. And what I want to do is there's a very nice highlights over here that says, what do I and Bongani have in common? So the first thing I want to do is I want to tell Bongani, why do I want to connect? So here is 4 mutual groups. So if I use the South African Business Network group a lot, and I'm active on that group, I can always go out to Bongani and say, I stumbled on your profile, or LinkedIn suggested you as a good fit, because I got in there first. Having looked at your profile, I noticed that we're both in the South African Business Network group. So now I have told Bongani explicitly why I want to connect with him. The other thing, the other element in your second connection is you want to find something that you can compliment him on. Now, but Bongani is a very good example because he has very little in his profile. This is a normal profile on LinkedIn, by the way. So he hasn't got a banner. He doesn't have a company page. He hasn't got an about section. He skipped that as well. He is not active. He doesn't do a lot of activity on LinkedIn, and he hasn't said much about that. So I can always go in and use the group, or I can go and I can look at his education, and I can connect with him on that level by saying, I see that we both went to UJ. I went to UJ when it was still called Rand Afrikaans University, for instance. A talking point. You want to find a talking point. You also, in doing, you can look at the skills, and you can see that Vivian has connected with him. So you can always go and say, I see that the mutual connection of ours endorsed you for advertising. So you need to find that commonality, and if you can find anything that you can compliment him on. Maybe he's written a post or something, but you want to personalize this. Why do you want to do all of this? Because the money is in the messaging. The higher your conversion rates, the better. Now, industry standards, according to LinkedIn, says that if you invite 100 people in a week and you get 25 new connections, in other words, a 25 connection rate from inviting people and actually getting a connection, meaning conversion rate, 25% is average, 30% is good, 35% is great. Just in the method that I've showed you now, our conversion rate at Marketing CX is 70% and above, because we do two things. First of all, we only send connection requests out to our ideal clients. And secondly, we only go in and personalize all of our second connection requests. We look for reasons why we can connect with that person. A safer way to get even higher percentages than 70% is what we call stalking. Now, I know that is not a very nice term to use, but it's tongue in the cheek, something we do in Marketing CX for our clients. So should Bongani have been someone that posted regularly, I probably would have gone in and liked and commented 2 or 3 of his posts first before I tried to connect to him, so that I can have something where I can say to him, I really enjoyed your post about this. I did a second connection request this morning using exactly that method, and it wasn't 2 minutes later and the person accepted. So if you can compliment them on something, that also works fine. One of the things that we also do, and what I recommend, is before you ask for a connection, always follow them first. Because if you follow them, if Bongani was an ideal client of mine, by following him, I will see his post updates. Now I can go and like and comment and share on his posts. And I am absolutely sure that by the time I ask for the connection, he's seen me. He's seen my little picture on his post. He's seen my comments. He knows me. He knows me. So why will he not connect with me? So the second connection, guys, is very important, because without getting a very high conversion rate on inviting people to become a connection of yours and focusing on your ideal clients, there's not going to be money in the messaging. There's going to be frustration in your efforts. It's that simple. So very important that you do a study on this. One of the things that we also do is, apart from following that route, is if I go to my profile and I go and view who's viewed my profile. In viewing the profile, we can go and look at the interesting views. In other words, LinkedIn is saying These are the people that viewed your profile that is similar to the posts you like and previous connections you've done. So this is also a very good area to go find second connections. If you don't have Sales Navigator and you find the LinkedIn search is very restrictive, this is a very quick way to go in and see your ideal clients. And what is nice is it tells you what you have in common up front. And then you can connect with them and go and say, we are both in this group. Just a word of caution. If I'm going to use this group, I better be active in it, because otherwise I'm just fibbing. So I might have joined the group, but I've never visited that group once in my life. What if this person turns around and I say, I see we're both in this group, and he asks me about the latest post he's done in there. Now I have to go sit and dig and find that post because I'm not active in there. So just make sure if you use this method that you do that, that you actually are active in all of them. What is now going to be important is once you've got the structures and so on, you need to work out a strategy. You've got a plan on hand. If you don't have a plan, any and everything will take you there. You need to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve and how are you going to move them through AIDA. Attention, interest, desire, and action through your messaging strategy. Now, there's a couple of ways that we do that. I'm first going to show you a high-level strategy. So here is my LinkedIn messaging strategy. So I have my outreach campaigns, and I work out my first connections as well as my second connections. In other words, what is the campaigns I want to run? What is the messaging that I want to prepare? So what is my objective with my second connections? When am I going to know that I'm successful? That's always a very good measurement for me if I've met my objective. So what is my objective? What am I trying to achieve? Why am I going out and ask for second connections? And then what is my outreach campaign with my first connections? What am I trying to achieve? Why am I reaching out to my first connections? You have to understand very clear in your mind what it is that you're trying to achieve, both with your first as well as your second. When you have your second connections, you want to know what messages are you going to send out to them. Now, you need to be flexible. You can't have a strategy that is so rigid. Okay, you send him a welcome message and he told you straight, I do not want to see your messages again, but your strategy says you're going to send him a content message. So you're going to send him a content. No, you've got to be a little bit flexible here. But what is important is I want to send him the invitation, then I want to welcome him, then I want to introduce him to my personal brand, my profile, through highlighting a content piece. Then I want to introduce him to my business brand by introducing him to my page and ask him to follow me. And then I want to get him into my group because I am building an online community. So this is the strategy and the messages I want to create. And on my first connections, I only want to focus on specific sales campaigns. In other words, I'm going to go out and say, I do LinkedIn makeovers for my clients, value status, here's why, and that value statement is going to highlight their problem area. And then I'm going to have 3 campaigns. So first I'm going to ask them, if this is why you need to do a LinkedIn makeover, is this of interest to you? If not, no problem, I thought I'll ask. I'm not selling you anything, hands up. If they say, yes, it's something of interest, then I'm going to send them the introduction. I'm going to send an introduction message. I'm going to send a follow-up, and then I'm going to send them the link to wherever I want to go. And if at any point in time they say, no, thank you, Tilly, I'm not interested, I'm going to be courteous. I put them into exclude and stop sending them messages. There's relationship building that needs to take place. So we do birthday, work, anniversary, and new job. And on the first connections, I might want to highlight events I host. I want to send them thank you for following my page. I want to welcome them, the group, and I want to thank them for content messaging. This is important that you have this layout so that you understand how many messages a connection is going to get from you. Because if you don't have that layout and you just message every time you get a reply, before you know it, you spam this poor person so much that he doesn't want to deal with you. So strategy, very important when you go out and you start planning your messaging system. The last thing I want to show you guys is how we actually go out and then go and creating these messages. So now I've got my strategy. I understand how LinkedIn works. I've built my ADA into my strategy. So now what you want to do is you want to actually go and do the message. So what is the objective? What is my framework? What is the call to action? In other words, what is the actions I want to do it? So first, before I start writing my messages, I work out, I take what is my objective with my messaging campaigns? What is that I ultimately want to achieve? So that when they agree to a Zoom meeting and get into the sales, we call it marketing qualified leads, MQLs. When I created the MQL and I give it to my salesperson, they know that this objective has been met. And sometimes if your marketing and sales are separate, you want your marketing person and salesperson to sit together so that your salesperson can tell the marketing person what they need. And that is the objective. You have to work out what is your action items. In other words, where are you going to send them to? What is specific questions they ask? What is the questions, burning questions they have? What is typical answers to that question? And it could be 3 or 4 questions that they have. It could be 10 answers that you have. But these are all value statements you're going to use in your messaging. And then the introduction. And I've explained the introduction, the connection, invite, compliment, value, something in common, and so on. So now you get to your messaging and you can start writing messages. Now we use message templates, but we do the message templates in such a way that we can personalize within the template. In other words, it's a guide. It's not a copy and paste. So it's a guide just so that I can make sure my grammar is correct, my spelling is correct. I follow a plan and a strategy. And what is more important, I start documenting what is the replies I'm getting. No thanks, not interested, not now. My profile is set up, thanks very much. I've done that when I just started. What is the replies I'm getting and what will be my response to that reply? So over a period of time, we build up a database of saying, when I send out this connection request, these are the replies I get. When I get this reply, I want to do that respond, because everything that you do on LinkedIn must be measured. You cannot manage that which you don't measure, and you can't measure that which you don't manage. So over time, as we do our outbound campaigns and our messaging, we document everything. Now, in conclusion, we go out, and I just want to see if I did open one for you guys. I'm going to stop sharing, and I just want to show you a document that we do. So in other words, when we do templates, we do templates like this: insert something, I appreciate to connect with you. So we do our message templates like this. So there's my connection request, there's my welcoming message. And we do 2, 3, 4, 5. We test everything as we go. This is how we want to build the relationships. That is how we want to move the conversation offline. This is how I'm going to ask for an introduction, and so on. So we prepare everything up front and make sure that we document everything that happens. Now, you might turn around today and say that, Tilly, this seems like a heap of work. It is in the beginning. But when you hit that sweet spot and you've built up your data and you understand what works and what doesn't work for you, it becomes so much easier. And that is when it takes you 30 minutes a day on your LinkedIn account and you've done all that. So it is extremely important when we look at, we are in business, we are on LinkedIn to grow our business. We are in business to make money. And it is no use frustrating yourself by taking actions and doing activities and putting in effort that you cannot measure and you cannot manage. If you use and follow this kind of strategy that I highlighted for you today, you will find that your leads increases very quickly, and that people start getting very interested in what you have, because you are working with insight and you're working smarter, not harder. And that is how LinkedIn messaging will become very profitable to you if you use it in this manner. So I thank you for your time. It was wonderful. I don't know if there's any questions. I don't know if Tracy is back. If you have any questions, I don't know if you can unmute and just ask me. I can't see anything in the chat.
Tilly, there is nothing that I can see in the chat.
Okay, great stuff, guys. I did a very good job. It's always encouraging when I do these presentations and I explain it so well that you don't have questions. Do join me on LinkedIn, follow my profile, connect with me on LinkedIn. We have a group where people ask questions. We have 2 pages. We do weekly webinars like this one. So if you have any questions or on LinkedIn, take the shortcut, just ask me. I do generosity as a service, GOS, and I'm very, very flexible and open to help people to success. Thank you very much for your time. I don't know if somebody else from ORT would like to close.
Tilly, thank you so much for an outstanding LinkedIn webinar this morning. I think the last 2 weeks have been so valuable to our businesses and our members in learning how to create a professional LinkedIn profile. And I will be sharing the recording of today's webinar together with an overview with everyone who registered to join us this morning. Before we close, I would just like to put up our final donation poll for the morning and thank everyone for your time. Thank you for joining us. And please, if you are able to make a donation, click on a box and then submit. We thank you for that. I'd also like to say that for those participants that have joined us over the last 2 weeks, we are going to put up a very quick feedback poll. Your feedback is so valuable to the ORCHET program in terms of planning forward and ensuring we bring you training, webinars, upskilling yourself, and all the tools to succeed in your business. So please, could you take a moment to click on the feedback poll. And Tilly, I will be sharing details of your LinkedIn makeover with all participants as well. Thank you for helping the businesses that you have seen already from ORT. And we so appreciate your time and your expertise on the subject. Thank you so much.
Really pleasure, Tracy. It was a privilege assisting you guys.
Thank you, Tilly. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.